America is in the grip of a drug epidemic, largely driven by the synthetic opioid fentanyl. The crisis is nowhere more evident than in Skid Row, Los Angeles. It's where actor Chris Browning spent several years as an addict. And for the first time in 18 years, he's taken us back onto the very streets where he was once homeless, using heroin, crack, and crystal meth.
I could just openly use drugs there because they didn't care. We're way out in the North Valley. Nobody cares. It's just like, stay out of Hollywood, basically. So, they left us alone, and that's why I stayed out here. But I always had to have a car because I was a shoplifter, and my little hustle. Everybody has a hustle, and my little hustle was stealing vodkas and cognacs, the premium stuff from the supermarkets, and selling them to the Russian mafia guys in West Hollywood. And so I'd hit 10 stores every day and get like usually 6 bottles or 12 bottles out of each store. So I would, I could make $1,000 or $1,500 every day, and I still lived in the bushes. I still woke up broke and drugless every day. Yeah, there's a homeless shelter around the corner.
As frightening as it may look, these people aren't dead. They've collapsed on the ground, having used fentanyl, which is killing hundreds and thousands. On a nearby street, we meet Jennifer, who started using heroin at just 7 years old. She recently overdosed on fentanyl.
I'm scared to die because I'm scared I'll never be able to get high again.
Ain't that crazy?
That's crazy.
That makes sense to me.
It makes a good sense, but that's just too much for me to accept for myself because I'm better than that.
That's right, babe.
A lot of people watching this will be so surprised to hear you say that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people feel that way sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think maybe they're just afraid to say it, but that's how much I depend on drugs. And that's terrible because I don't want to depend on drugs. I want to be able to depend on my wife or my kids or myself.
Since meeting each other in jail, Jennifer and Linda have been inseparable. But despite being clean for nearly 10 years, Linda says she's still living a nightmare and told us the horrific moment she found her wife suffering an overdose.
It was scary. It was very scary. Yeah, I thought I lost her, but I kept on hitting her and meaning to wake her up.
Slapping me.
Come on, you're not leaving me. No, you're not.
Me and her have been through, I think, everything you could possibly think of. And we have not, God has not separated us yet, so we know it's meant to be. But for me, my addiction, I'm starting to see things, the part I play in it. And it's hard for me because it's hard for me because a lot of the pain I've caused people that really care about me. And in recovery, you have to have certain guidelines. You have to have acceptance. You have to have forgiveness. You have to have all these things that I don't know if I'm capable of having when I get clean. So it's kind of scary for me, but I believe I can do it.
One of the things you hear in the recovery world is if you stay on the train, the scenery will change. So when you're sitting there going, my life is a train, is a horrible nightmare, don't quit. You try it, you get into a program and you're trying it. The first early recovery always sucks, that's why nobody stays. But when you get through it and start doing some of the work, the obsession goes away. You can't imagine yourself without the obsession. It goes away. There's a guy right here with dope. I could go get it. I got money. I can get drugs from him right now. I don't want to. This is where I was for off and on for 6 years. And yeah, I was right in here. I was right in here.
So this is where you spend a lot of time doing drugs?
Yeah, I spent as much time as I could here. And that was the thing. I mean, I spent half of those 6 years, I spent half of it in the LA County Jail. I was a full-on junkie. I mean, heroin's not the kind of thing that you can do on the weekends with any consistency because of how it makes you feel when you don't have it.
The terrifying reality of this crisis is that anyone can get sucked in. We met Boris from Guatemala, who's homeless and living in this tent. He's addicted to crystal meth.
How long have you been using crystal meth?
¿Cuántos años?
¿Por 5?
5 years.
Oh.
5 years. And you've been acá 5 años? Acá?
¿Y aquí en el Galpin?
Yeah, down the way a little bit where I used to live, and here.
Do you want to stop?
You want help? Muchos hombres muertos acá. A lot of dead guys here.
Muchos mueren por fentanyl.
Fentanyl.
Ajá.
That's what's getting everybody.
Mucha gente.
Back at Skid Row, a place with a notorious reputation for homelessness, we saw countless people openly doing drugs, seemingly unaware of their surroundings. Roughly every 8 minutes, someone is dying somewhere having overdosed on fentanyl. Corey is a dealer.
Does it worry you that the drug that you're providing to people may potentially lead to them losing their lives?
70% of the overdoses are people that know what they're doing. They're just doing it wrong. They're too high. They do something else. You know, they do too much. They forget that they're so high already that they do some more, and they forgot that they just took a hit and they take another hit and hold it in too long or whatever the case is. These people are dying on themselves.
Just a week ago, Candice lost 2 friends who overdosed on fentanyl. Her early ambitions were overtaken by drugs after losing her mom.
How long you been down here?
17 years.
Been down here at Skid Row?
Yeah.
17 years?
What drugs do you use?
I smoke heavy once in a blue moon, not all the time.
Do you use fentanyl?
Nope.
Did you ever get fentanyl on accident?
Yeah, on accident. It killed me twice.
Yeah.
I couldn't help noticing, amid the misery and desperation, there were bonds being formed. Detroit has lived here since the late 1980s.
I don't go to jail. After I met this one,
You keep him out of trouble?
yes, she keep me out of trouble.
Jamie keep you out of trouble?
Yes, I am.
Yes, she does.
Yes, I am.
Homeless people can stay on the streets where the business is not, away from the business, right?
Right.
So this is the back street. This is a wall right here, right?
Yeah.
So, but if you go down some of these streets, you see the business owners are fencing it up, the sidewalks up, because they do not want homelessness on their property, and that's wrong, because they never know how any of their relatives will,
It is difficult to see a way out for many here. The ravages of fentanyl is destroying lives indiscriminately, leaving no one untouched. Chris survived his 12-year ordeal, but it's left its mark behind.
Well, yeah, like these shiny craters and stuff.
That's where you used to put the needle?
Well, it was one of the places I would put the needle, and then I would miss, and I would get a big infection there, and it'd be a big blob of stuff. I went on the backs of my hands, and yeah, I mean, anywhere I could find a vein, I screwed my own career up. I was on a trajectory. I was a regular on a couple of sitcoms, and I had I lived in a beach house in Malibu, and things were going good, but you know, my sister had died, my younger sister, Meredith. She drank herself to death at 27, and I was 29. And from that point on, I just didn't care. I drank and used as much as I could get my hands on, and people would say, man, if you keep going like that, you're gonna die. And I would say, when?
Do you think Meredith would be proud of how far you've come?
Yeah, I think my sister would be proud. My middle child, Elena, her middle name is Meredith, for her Aunt Meredith, that she of course never met, but my mom was proud of me. For years, the only way that my parents could find out if I was alive was by checking with the LA County jail system. So imagine that. Now that I'm a parent, I look back and go, wow, imagine if the only way I could find, because I was punishing them because they had to turn their backs. They had to cut me off eventually because they would, they were told, you're going to enable this kid to death. You got to stop helping him, because I was coming at him with all kinds of bull stories about how I need money for this and that, and it was just to get loaded. So they finally cut me off, and I was, punishing them. So I'm like, I'm not even going to call them. Fine. And they would call the jail system, and every few months they'd say, yeah, we got him, and they would be like, oh, thank God, my kid's in jail. That means he's alive. So when I finally got sober, I called my mom every day for 10 years until she died. I've been to where it's so much easier for me to just say, yeah, I tried that once, it's bull. Now I've just given myself permission to not have to try it again.
And I've learned that drugs aren't gonna make anything better. I'm not gonna be able to forget about it with drugs or, anything like that. I'm still gonna have to deal with it sooner or later. I'm so proud of her.
Is it ever tempting when you see her getting high and you go, well,
I'll be honest, yes, it does, but I have to be strong. I ask him, above, God, please give me that straight to show her that I could do it and anybody could do it.
My community and my, that's my priority is because I have a program that I live by, and when they see this online or they call into the network or whatever and go, I really liked what Chris had to say. That he inspired me to look into getting some help for myself or my daughter or whatever, and if you just get one of those, this entire day, as they say, is worth it,